Am I the asshole for making my 15-year-old daughter get a job to pay for our dog's vet bills? I have 3 daughters, Phoebe, 19, Allie, 18, and Janie, 15. We also have a 2-year-old Chihuahua Wiener dog mix, Pebble. We were in the middle of a heat wave 2 weeks ago with temperatures hitting 107. Small dogs are more sensitive to heat, so we don't let him go to the backyard for long periods of time, and the deck is off limits because there's no shade on the deck. The problem is Pebble loves the deck because he can watch the cars, people walking on the trail behind our house, and he can see our neighbor's chickens. Janie doesn't have first period and doesn't leave for school until 10 a few days a week. Both Allie and Phoebe leave between 9 to 30, so it's Janie's responsibility to make sure Pebble is inside, the fans are on, and he has water. 2 weeks ago, in the worst of the heat wave, Pebble was crying at the deck door. Janie got annoyed and let him go on the deck. Then she left for school and forgot him on the deck. Allie came home a few hours later and started looking for Pebble. She found him passed out on the deck and called me sobbing. I left work early, took him to the emergency vet. They treated him for heat stroke. He had to stay at the vet for a few days, and Allie was inconsolable while he was gone. She was constantly crying, she wouldn't eat or leave her room, and she had a panic attack every time the phone rang because she was terrified that it was the vet telling us that Pebble was gone. Pebble made a full recovery, but now we have an expensive vet bill, and Allie still has extreme anxiety around losing Pebble. Janie's upset because Allie hasn't spoken to her since she forgot Pebble on the deck, and Phoebe rarely speaks to her and doesn't hang out with her anymore. Janie was upset about Pebble when he was in the vet, but now she's very nonchalant about what happened because he's fine. My husband and I have been talking about what to do with Janie. We decided on making her get a job to pay for Pebble's vet expenses, close to $2,000 after insurance. Janie's very upset about it because she has to quit swim team to get a job and says that we're ruining her life over a mistake. Now I'm starting to wonder if I'm the asshole for making her quit swim team to get a job. Also, she can't get a job after swim season because soccer season starts right after swim season. Then after soccer season she has softball season, then summer training camps. We are ruining her life over a mistake that nearly killed a family member. Not the asshole. She knew the routine and knew better than to let the dog out onto the deck in the first place. It doesn't matter how annoying he was, you do not gamble your dog's safety for some peace. Edit. Thank you everyone for the awards. Regardless of what some may say, dogs are family. Agree with you. I don't understand all the people saying it was a mistake and she learned from it. The mistake nearly killed an innocent life. Glad the dog turned out okay, but that is one hell of a mistake. The worst part is she doesn't even feel bad about it now that the dog is okay. Nua, nothing about this is okay. Not the asshole op. Make her get a job and pay the bill. I'd even suggest keeping a very close eye around her with the dog from now on too. Yeah, at 15, if I had made that mistake and learned from it, no one would have had to ask me twice to pay for it. The sacrifice she's having to make is the lesson. It's painful to fix a grave mistake. I gave it a lot of thought. Read your responses to others, and here's my judgment. Everyone sucks here, and here's why. Janie was clearly upset over Pebble's time in the vet. No doubt she already feels guilty and was traumatized by her mistake. Her sisters are being super nasty about it, making things worse, and on top of that, you want to make her take an action that would adversely affect her academically. And yes, sports are a part of academics. Athletes are required to keep up a certain GPA, at both the high school and college levels. Without sports, many young athletes will actually give up on keeping their grades up. You admit that 2 of her sports, soccer and softball, are potential scholarship material. Well, a job that keeps her from performing in sports for even one academic year can destroy those chances. It can even be what keeps her from being accepted if it comes down to a choice between her and someone who missed no time in their chosen sports. Time also matters for things like starting position, etc. Further, at 15, her job options and hours are super limited. It will 100% take her several months, especially since, in most states, employees under 16 don't even have to be paid minimum wage. They can be paid less. I don't know about where you live, but in my state, minimum wage is $10.30 per hour. At 15, Janie would not be allowed more than 3 hours a day during the AITA year, and no more than 5 days per week. So that's $150 per week before taxes. After taxes, it's about $130 per week. So it would take her close to 4 months to pay the vet bill. And that's if your local minimum wage is at least that high. If it's the federal minimum, it will take her more like 5 months. Minimum. So you would be taking months out of her life. Now that I'm done with that explanation, let's move on to Janie. She 100% knew what her responsibility was. She failed to follow through, and it resulted in Pebble almost dying. You almost lost a family member over her failure. So, assuming you've already had to pay off the bill, Most vets won't do payment options, and most e-vets require payment up front. Janie needs to have a punishment that is appropriate so that she learns from her mistake. So ground her. No hanging out with friends. If she gets an allowance, don't give her her allowance until the bill is paid off. If she wants to pay it off faster, she can do yard work, shovel snow come winter, run errands, babysit, etc. in her free time. And make her do the research again, and this time make sure she actually understands it fully. Hard disagree with you about the sports being academics, in this case. The girl is a 3-season athlete. If soccer and softball are her promising sports, you can bet she'll be keeping her grades up so she's eligible when those seasons come around. The time spent working won't compromise that, because they would have been spent at practice and not on academics anyhow. If she's serious about her other sports, this just isn't going to be an issue. Also, babysitting is very lucrative and could make it possible to earn money far more quickly than your calculations. I think a compromise of paying off half of the vet bill would be valid, with the experience of having a consequence making up the other half. Agreed. Babysitting can be lucrative for an experienced babysitter, and if she's not spending the time at practice, she'll lose her spot on the team. So where's the motivation? In many schools, getting kicked off one team for not attending practice will get you kicked off the other teams, especially in girls' sports, because the girls' teams are often coached by the same people, depending on the size of the school. No, many districts don't care what Title X says, if a huge fit isn't made. Imagine the interview. Why do you want to babysit for us? Because I left my dog on the deck to die of heatstroke and now my parents want me to pay for the vet bill to save it. So unfair. Exactly. I wouldn't trust her with my child. Why not compromise with having her volunteer for animals that have been hurt, neglected when she's not actively participating in her sports, doing homework, etc.? She'll learn the hard way what happened behind the scenes because of her actions more so than she would paying $2,000. Putting aside my own feelings about dogs, I feel this is the most appropriate response. She should have to do 200 hours of volunteer work taking care of animals so that her consequence relates to the behavior. She may gain a passion for volunteering in animals also. I don't think that this is really applicable. You leave your animal out and they almost die. The consequences of that are either 1, your animal dies, or 2, you have major vet bills to pay. The animal didn't die, so she should absolutely help to pay the vet bill. Why not both? I'd be willing to cough up half the cost as a parent if she did half and used part of that work time to volunteer. The $2,000 debt is overboard for a teen who doesn't even have a job offer. $2,000 is a huge debt for many adults to tackle. Find a way to punish her, or find a way for her to repay or something, but make it doable for her age and circumstances. I have 4 kids. The youngest is 14. Here are some questions. Are you sure she is nonchalant? Maybe she was scared and was protecting herself by trying not to think about it. And once everything was okay, the relief helped. No one likes to know they messed up so bad. Instead of doubling down, try therapy. It may have been traumatic, but she couldn't talk about it. Do you really expect 15-year-olds to never forget something like this? This is within the realm of accidental. Teens are people. People make mistakes. Your teen might get in a car accident someday. Personally, I would ask the teen to contribute $300 towards the vet bill. I would offer to pay for extra chores at home, or they could find other jobs. I would also talk to her about how she is feeling. Does she feel like everyone is mad at her? How does she feel when she sees the dog? Is it hard to be around the dog? Talk to her about her sister's feelings. Does she feel like her sister will be able to forgive her? How does she feel about taking care of the dog? Does it feel like this mistake will help her be more careful, or does she feel angry and upset whenever she has a dog chore because she's angry that one little mistake could cause so much horrible stuff and now she just hates knowing she still has that responsibility? I would ask questions slowly and leave pauses. I would be gentle and make it safe. I would tell her that I know she tries so hard to be a responsible person and I see how hard she tries. I would hug her and tell her that I know she is a good person and I'm devastated for the dog and for the sister, but I'm devastated especially for her because it must have been really hard to find out it had happened because of her mistake and how hard it is to feel guilty about something that you can't go back and do over. I would talk about why people who love you are willing to hug you and forgive, some quicker than others, but sometimes need time. This is the most sane response from an adult that understands teenagers are still developing. I keep thinking about the countless stories of parents accidentally driving to work and forgetting to take their kids to daycare, and then tragedy strikes because they've forgotten their kid in the car. These documented life-destroying brain farts happen, and it's not from a lack of caring, it's autopilot and sometimes exhaustion. And the terrifying thing is that something like this could happen to any of us, whether we want to admit it or not. Not the asshole, you're not ruining her life over a mistake. She let the dog out on the deck, which she knew she wasn't supposed to. Then she left the dog out there and could have killed him. Even if it was an accident, accidents have serious consequences. It's not right that everyone else pays for her mistake, you parents financially, her sister emotionally, Pebble physically, while she is living a fun life like nothing happened. This was negligence, not an accident. She didn't let the dog out accidentally, she let it out on purpose and then neglected to let it back in. Accident and neglect are not mutually exclusive terms. In Ta, it was a mistake, but it was a life. If it had been something like, oh, she left the TV on, she broke the vase while throwing a ball in the house, granddad's urn above the fireplace, maybe you'd be the awe. But this is a life. And I think all humans need to know that a pet is a responsibility, you can't treat it, to use your own word, nonchalant. Exactly. Yes, the girl forgot, that happens to everyone. But this could have hurt or possibly even killed another soul. A pet is all cute and cuddly when they're small. But then they grow up, and still require the same or sometimes more care. The pet is the owner's responsibility 100% in every little thing. I've had to make the life and death decisions about 3 of my beloved fur babies, because that is put on us as owners, to decide the route. In this case, she should be relieved not to be put in that situation, that the dog recovered and no bigger decision had to be made on Pebble's behalf. She made a mistake, but even mistakes might have tough consequences, this one does. I find it fair for her to help pay for it, even if it means missing out on soccer or whatever sports she's active in. Had it been someone's phone she broke, the owner would have expected it to be reimbursed, the result would have the same outcome, meaning she needs to pay for it. Original poster, not the asshole. I guess Janie has a choice then, doesn't she? Swimming or soccer and not the asshole. Your daughter needs to learn that her life isn't the only one with any value. Oh, I hadn't considered that it would probably only take her 1 sports season to save the money. Maybe original poster should let her finish swim as not to penalize the team and have her get a job during soccer. Swim luckily is a really individual sport. Most meets only let a single swimmer participate in 3 to 4 individual events and 1 to 2 relays, max. It's not like soccer where missing someone directly impacts how everyone else has to do their race. Even in swim relays, you only interact with the swimmer before or after you during the dive, and it's basically just pulling your feet in at the wall so the diving swimming doesn't faceplant into toes. The actual swim itself in a relay doesn't change. Mild, you are the asshole. I would have her get a small part-time job like tutoring or babysitting that could work around her swim team and let her pay just a portion of the vet bill. The point is to teach her accountability, not to be punitive. Girl almost kills dog due to negligence and demonstrates nonchalance, emotional immaturity and an inability to take responsibility for her actions, and your answer is to have her babysit? Like, actual human babies? Lol, fair point. This is all very American. Just everything. Multi-layered American. I'm going to let my American colleagues deal with this. She can't get a job after swim season because soccer season starts right after swim season. Then after soccer season she has softball season, then it's summer training camp season. I told her I can't afford these medical bills on account of being an assistant manager at a propane distributor. And it's propane season. I already got 2 shifts slinging hot dogs at the local college football game. Y'all think it was easy getting corporate to sign off on that? With these Q3 numbers? They only touched base to give the go-ahead because it's hot dog season. I keep telling y'all these kids need to learn the value of the American dollar. Yeehaw. Not the asshole, but I think better make sure you frame it as accountability, not punishment. Also, I'd try to diffuse the situation between the sisters. Silent treatment is punishment and it's not good for Janie, especially when she's still a child. Edit. Some people disagree with me, but I never suggested the sisters act like nothing happened. But forgiving is one part of life, especially among family. Allie is an adult now, so I never told original poster, force, her to talk with Janie again like some comments seem to misunderstand. But also Janie is a child. She's still under original poster's responsibility. Someone said it's not the parent's job to mediate between children. I mean it is. Until your children turn 18, it's your responsibility. It's just you have to do it right and resolve conflicts, not forcing them to pretend nothing happened. Honestly, how her sisters are reacting is really irrelevant. They are entitled to their feelings. which may be exacerbated by the fact that Janie is now very nonchalant about the episode, and that she hasn't really been held accountable. Having said that, $2,000 is a very big ask for a 15-year-old. It could be cut to half of that and still make a serious point about accountability. If she has to miss one of her sports, then let her choose which one. In general, original poster is not the asshole, and she needs to be clear that Janie is not allowed to become one. Maybe an unpopular opinion here, but you are the asshole. She's 15, her prefrontal cortex hasn't fully developed. Your family dog, that you as an adult agreed to keep as a pet, is your responsibility at the end of the day. Yes, she should learn to care for this living creature, but it's obvious that she didn't do it on purpose and she feels terrible about what happened. Now you're going to punish your 15-year-old child because you gave her too much responsibility? Were you forgetful, overwhelmed, and flustered at 15? I think you owe all of the kids an apology for your mistake. I agree 100%. My question is, if the family knew the deck was so dangerous and the dog wants to be out there, install shade, put out fresh water, have a doggy door, something to give them protection in case they are locked outside. This is a very common error and pets escape yards all the time when kids forget to lock gates. They are not willfully trying to kill the animal. They are human and should be shown grace. Yes, I completely agree. Have a motion sensor camera or something. Or water, shade, etc. It's irresponsible for original poster to put the life of their dog in the hands of their teenager, if the climate outside is really that intense. When we had a heatwave, I had to constantly check to make sure my dog was inside because she is black and likes to lay in the sun and bake like a dummy. Smartest dog breed, my ass. I definitely wouldn't have entrusted her safety with a 15-year-old. Info. Is there no way for her to work without quitting swim? That seems like a more reasonable solution. I was thinking this too. Like, I know plenty of jobs that only need staff on Sat, Sun or random days of the week. No assholes here. I get that she made a mistake and needs to take responsibility, but quitting mid-season hurts her team. Team sports are so beneficial, and I don't think you should teach her it's okay quit when you've already committed to your team. I also don't agree with punishing by taking away sports. That's time she'll never get back, especially if she doesn't play sports in college. And even if she does play in college, it won't be with the same teammates. Maybe try having her do housework to pay it off. Like sweeping and mopping is this amount, doing dishes are this amount, washing the cars are this amount, and just keep track of it all. Most places won't hire 15-year-olds anyway. If it works with your schedule, maybe look into your town's recreational leagues to get her into refereeing and umpiring. It won't make much for a while, but it's an option. I do admit I may be biased because I played sports all growing up, and when I look back, it's the sports with my friends that I miss the most. Seconding that most places won't hire her. I live in Ontario, and even though the minimum age for working part-time is 14 here and minimum for full-time is 16, most employers, big and small, will outright refuse to hire anyone who isn't at least 18, 17 if they're generous. This is because there's less regulations for adult employees, and it keeps insurance premiums down and minimizes legal liability. I did not get an actual job until I was 17, and that was a temp gig, literally not even a full month, calling for a political party during a federal election. Didn't get a job that wasn't a temp gig again until after I was 18. Everyone sucks here. It is a terrible accident, and I'm sure she feels absolutely torn up about it. When I accidentally let my dogs escape, I felt like the worst person ever. Since then, I have not made the same mistake. The bill is no joke though. Perhaps doing extra chores inside the house, or mowing the yard, things like that over the period of a few months to slowly pay off her debt? I feel like $2,000 is a bit much to ask of her, so perhaps because it was an accident, split it in half? That way she feels like she contributed to his recovery and also learned the financial lesson? She may be able to find a part-time job just a few days a week in between or after sports to help pay off her part of the bill, though where I live you have to be 16 to work at most places. Or maybe have her volunteer at an animal shelter so that she learns a deeper appreciation and responsibility for animals. Giving her a $2,000 vet bill is all about punishment. Nothing about learning, improving. Not the asshole unless your kid has like Olympic-level swimming skills. Her life will be just fine after quitting swim team. Actions have consequences, even ones that were not intentional. Even if she had Olympic-level swimming skills, let her complete swimming and work during soccer or softball season. I feel confident in guaranteeing she isn't a potential pro for all three sports. Even if she were, well, the nature of consequences is that they often require sacrifices, Pick one to miss, and try to make it up next season if you really want to. She was wrong for forgetting the dog. But since there were no other signs of cruelty to animals, irresponsible, dangerous behavior, taking her off swim team is ridiculous. Everyone process grief, trauma, shock differently. 18 Yo lost it. 19 is being a jerk. 15 Yo is trying to cope, get back to normal. Don't make it worse. Only sensible answer here. Honestly, what's with parents not looking out for their kids? And if original poster knows the dog loves the deck, why not put an umbrella or something? This accident was bound to happen sooner or later. Unfortunately, it happened during a heat wave to the youngest of the family. Original poster, do better and talk to your kids. Stop forcing blame instead of looking for solutions. Have you put some shade on the deck? Arrange something for your 15 Yo, chores or something, not jeopardize her future. Have you really talked with her? Would you do the same if it were one of the other sisters? Would you force them to, I don't know, drop out of college to get a job and pay you back? What's more important, money or the well-being of your family? Talk to your children and process this situation together. You're letting your daughters drift apart and possibly hate each other. I'm so mad. All of this. Put some damn shade up and water out. Don't ruin your kids' college sports chances over a mistake. Your older kids need to grow the hell up.